Hi there, Sandra here from createinspain, and today I'm using my iPad because I want to show you a new video editing piece of software that I downloaded. It did cost me $28.99, but I think it's worth it. It's in between iMovie and DaVinci. It is relatively simple to learn. It has lots of help features, which is handy if you really don't know how you're using the software, and it works on my iPad. Now, the reason I looked for something to go on my iPad is because iMovie, which is very basic, was causing my laptop to overheat. I couldn't record voiceover separately, and it was just freezing up on me. My laptop's not actually that old. So, without further ado, let's get into LumaFusion. Now, when you open it up, you have various options of the views, and you access that by this little button, which is the third one in from the right-hand corner. And so you can change it and alter it to one of half a dozen views that you might like. And I go for the one on the top left, in case you're wondering. So up here we have our preview screen. If you think about going to a buffet, this is the stuff that you've taken from the buffet and you've put on your plate. And down here is the timeline, and that's your seat at the table. That's what you actually put on the table and you pick and choose from. Okay, that's what you decide to eat, in what order you decide to eat it, etc., etc. So you can put a clip in here, take a part of it, put it into there, and then edit it still further and add effects and all that sort of stuff. So everything you're going to be editing later on will come in this window, your timeline. There are some buttons to the left of it which I'm not going to worry about at the moment. Down here on the left is where you import your new project, and you have a couple of menu buttons there. You have a whole load of buttons here, and they will become obvious as and when you can use them. Up here is where you can choose your footage, your video, your audio, pictures, whatever it is you're putting in. Some of these are within the actual program itself. You have story blocks amongst this, and if I tap on here, I come out story box, and there are photos. NAR box, if it applies to you, the same with WT. These are external drives, I think. Imported stuff, which you've already imported, the story blocks, titles, and various ways of having effects on your titles will be done later on, but those are the general shapes for your titles. Transitions is where you fade in and out of different clips of video, and access to iTunes. If you allow it access, it will prompt you to allow access for that. Now, Storybox is something I'm not going to be using because there's a few freebies in there, but most of it is paid for by subscription, whether it's monthly or yearly, and I really don't need it. And then more or less in the middle there is an arrow, which if you tap on that, it will allow you to access media from downloads, or to download media, I should say, from wherever you choose to download it. Now, I've got a few clips in here, so that's where my media is going to come from. You can tap and select on the download, so that will download a bit of a clip. Yeah. So things in there are downloaded. For example, I have an intro which I recorded, which is downloaded in there, and some music. Abstract is the one that I decided I want to use. So I can scroll through it, or scrub through it as the technical term is, up here, or I can move it down here, and I can set it to play, and then it starts to play. Now this doesn't have any audio on it, okay. So, whoops, stop that. And I've got an audio file which says heavy rain. So I can tap on that, and that can be added to that. Now you can do an automatic placement of it by tapping on this icon here. That's put it over my video, and I would put it underneath, for example. And I've got that in there more than once. Let's take that clip and put it into the bin. Okay, I've removed my audio as well, as it happens. So I'm going to go to my heavy rain. I think that was the one that I wanted. Put that in. Again, it's gone over the top, so I'll just put it underneath it like that. And then, if I tap on that, there we go. Now the yellow handles you saw on there beforehand are simply a way of cutting an amount of the clip that you want to add to your timeline. If, for example, you've got 10 minutes of clip and you know you're only making a 5-minute video, then you might as well just add 5 or 6 minutes of the video and not the whole 10 minutes. So that just allows you to take a chunk out of it before editing it otherwise. Once you've got your video in your timeline, it becomes editable. And then you'll see these other functions down here. So you can do things like copy it. You can link or unlink. If you have video and audio and it's linked, if you put a cut in, it will cut both the video and the audio. If you unlink them and you tap on the audio, you can put a break in just the audio, or again just on the video. Then we have some notes I think you can take. I think that's what that one is. Then we have special effects, and we have a clipboard, and we have a plus sign. Now this is useful for adding things in like a voiceover. So if I clip on this and I add voiceover, this menu comes up. Once I tap on the circle, it starts recording. Tap on it to finish, and I shall do a little short record. It's raining cats and dogs. When you finish recording, there's a little square with a tick in it, and you press on that to save it. So it's now put in a voiceover, which is also on my tracks. Now you've got the room here to add 6 video tracks and 6 audio tracks at the same time. Oops, it looks like our water might have gone off. Let me just check that out. Now, where was I? I got distracted. Sorry about that. Yeah, we had our water switched off. It's come back again though, so that's good. And I've filled the kettle so I can have a cup of tea later, just in case it goes off again for some reason. Right, where was I? Ah yes, voiceovers. So I've put a voiceover in here, and this is where ducking comes into play. So if I take this back to the beginning and play, helps if I tap it. Did you catch that? It decreases the volume while I'm talking. Let's go back again. So this is a really, really handy feature. Automatic ducking is the best thing ever as far as I'm concerned. Have you ever had a portion of your craft video where You've been doing something which is relatively boring, so you just want to put a bit of music over it. Well, you can automatically without having to fiddle around with, cutting bits to size and slotting them in. So if I go back to the settings and preferences, this is the ducking here. And you can alter the duck volume, so you can take it right the way down if you want to, so virtually nothing sounds and it's purely your voice, or you can allow some of the other audio track to creep through. And you have a duck threshold, which is where the ducking cuts in, where it will start to work. So you can play around with those settings if you want to. I just left them on the standard apart from the duck volume. Okay, didn't do anything else with those. So that is really handy, and I think it's going to make making videos smoother a lot easier. What else? Right, the next thing is actually editing your video and applying effects to it. And so I go to this point here, and then I decide, okay, at this point I want to put in some kind of effect. So I can put in a cut just there, and I can move it along a bit further and put in another cut. So I've decided this piece of video here is the one I want to edit. Double tap, and here it is. I can play it. But I can now add different effects to it. So I could change the color tint, for example. That one's a bit different. All sorts of weird and wonderful things you can do. And you can adjust any of these effects by quite a few different things. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of those. So I'm just going to put this one on, I think. Then when I go back and replay, oops. You saw the colour shift there, I hope. Not the most obvious of effects, but that's just something I did. So that's how you can edit a particular clip. Now you have options up here which will change things considerably. See, more effects, and yet more effects. That one's definitely very obvious. That's more like molten lava now. And you'll see here there's a little path with some green dots. If it gets up to that end and it starts going red, you've reached the limit of the amount of effects you can put onto that clip. Okay, so as I said, you can do all sorts of funny things. You've got blurring in here, different types of blurs, distortions of different sorts. And that is blue screening or green screening, that sort of thing. I am not entirely sure what that does. I think it's got something to do with masking, but again, that's not something I'm really going to be using. So you have all sorts of different things you can do. Now, if I go to this one, which is the position and frame rate, I can do some weird and wonderfuls in here as well. You've got various position things that you can do, but generally speaking, it's just a case of playing around and seeing what you want to do. Now, if I take this and I put it down in that left-hand corner, resize it a bit, and I go to this size and position button here. At the beginning of the clip, I can tap on it. So that's what the clip is going to look like at that position in the clip. However, what I can do is move it around. You can rotate it via this button here, or you can just do a 2-finger rotate. and I'm going to say, well, actually halfway through my clip or so it's going to be there, and then at the end of my clip it's going to be rotated like that. Now when we go back here and we play back, so this is really good fun. Okay, so how do you add titles? You go back up here and you tap on your titles, and you got a whole load of different titles you can use. Now you can change the view in here, tap on that, and you get the view and sort. So you can have it, for example, in picture formats, which if you're doing titles might be quite handy, and you can change the order of them. So loads and loads of different title types, and if you put those in, go for that one for example, yeah, that one will do nicely, and I want to pop it in. Let's put it there. I'm going to put it up here. Anything that is on the top is what's going to take over when you are showing your movie. So I might do that. Now if I want to actually edit the title itself, double tap, and if I have the position and size, I can alter that. There we go. That's the position and size. I want to alter the actual text. I've got two different lines and it shows up in the layers here, so I can tap on one of them. I can delete it if I want to. I can send it to the bin. There we go. So I could just have that one line of text, and to edit that, and I can remove what's in there and just go hello. Okay, that is done. But then if I decide I want to change the type of text, I've got certain presets here which I could use. I can clip on it to make it larger or smaller, and I can go in here and I can change whatever font I've got. And I can go in there, move the shapes around, I can move this one around, do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Go back to the size and position, and I can move it around again, and then go back to my video. There we go. And obviously, I've got it on loop there. If you lengthen or shorten this, pull it out or shorten it, it will lengthen the amount of time that your title actually stays on the screen. So there we go. It is so easy to use. If I want to put another split in it, just tap on part of my video, put another split in there, and you know, it's pretty easy. And if you do get stuck, there is always the help button. So if you want to export it at the end of the day, you have various options. Now you can export it as movie. If you want to keep all the settings and have them, I would assume they are still adjustable. If you keep them in the LumaFusion project package, they should be, you should be able to go into them and change them and yeah, do what you want to do with them. You can have a snapshot if you want, and you export it to wherever you want to export it. So that's it. I think it's pretty good. It's not as basic as iMovie, but it's not as complicated as something like DaVinci. And if I can get my head around most of this, then you should be able to as well. Thanks for watching. I will see you again soon.